I just have to laugh because I'm talking about something, and I'm going to start out with most recent in my life. Okay. We have all of these things. I'm just taking my hair down because I've had my turban on all day. Um, so, what do we do when things don't go the way that we want them to, or we think they should, or, you know, that thing, right? So, today I took my great nephew out, whom I adore. Um, Out for lunch just to really get to connect with him because he definitely can download his life on me, and we have a really wonderful relationship. So I plan on taking him to this restaurant that I knew about. He's definitely a little meat eater, and he, teases me about being vegan, and I'm totally good with that. So there was a line, and he didn't want to wait in line. He'd just been playing volleyball in a volleyball camp all morning. So we walked. I said, okay, there's a few more restaurants up the street. Let's walk up the street. So there was a vegan one that had, and he actually had other things besides vegan stuff. He wasn't happy. He thought that was a breakfast restaurant. And then we went to an Indian restaurant. He didn't want an Indian food. And then we went to one that neither one of us liked. And then there was this burger restaurant. And he was like, I really feel like a burger. And I'm like, okay. So he orders what he wants. And then they had a jackfruit burger on a wheat bun. And I thought, okay. And I should have just gone next door. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? Gone right next door and gotten what I wanted and eaten outside because they were both the places had outside seating that was connected, so they wouldn't have minded. But instead, I just decided, okay, I'll order the jackfruit vegan burger. It was hideous. I felt like I still feel like crap from it. But what do you do? Do we lose energy and time and everything moaning about that? Or do we figure out what we need to do to digest whatever it is, whether it's food or an event or a person coming or going in our lives? What do we do in those situations? Hopefully, something to detox us. Physically, maybe, like in my case today, physically, because I loved being with my wonderful nephew. But I really didn't like how I felt. I got crampy and funky. And so, as soon as I could, I got some probiotics and drank a lot of fluids and still need to drink more. And just, I'll eat a few prunes, I'll wash it through me, right? It'll leave. It's not permanent. Some of our things that happen to us are much more long lasting, whether it's the death of someone that's very sudden or it's very close to us, a relationship that we thought was really going long term that just falls apart, a child being injured, there's huge things that can happen in our life that are like, wait a minute, that so wasn't what we had planned, right? That wasn't what we wanted. How did this happen to us? Because we have this law of attraction that said, well, you must have wanted it or it wouldn't happen to you. And I just say, no. A lot of things come to us so that we can learn something. What did I learn today? That maybe I'm going to direct my beautiful nephew next time, even if it means standing in line a little longer. Just say, this is our chance to just connect with each other. It doesn't matter. And go to a place that I know has better food. But what do you do about the really big ones? Yes, there's always a grieving period when you lose something in your life that's really important to you. Person, place, thing, whether it's a house, a job, a person, you know, there's a grieving period. But then there's like, how do you interrupt that grieving period? How do you know when to interrupt that period so that you can get on with life? How do you know, like, is 3 months, is a year? Is there a time limit on grief? Is there a time limit on being upset about why did I do that? Why did I let that happen to me? Why did this happen to me? All of these whys that there's no really clear answer for. And yet we want the answer, right? We want the answer. Last night we had this wonderful young man over for dinner, who's part of my Peruvian family. And he was saying that there's a whole lineage in his family on the male side of doing too much for the women in their lives and literally sacrificing their lives for whatever woman they're involved in. And he had learned this really hard lesson at 20 years old, um, with his present, well, his past now girlfriend. And a therapist said, I worked with your grandfather and your father, and they all have this same thing. So, what is the legacy or the lineage? Your lineage has certain situations that you either get to accept and live with and keep replicating, or you decide that you have a different legacy that you want, and you get to change that pattern of what you do in situations. Okay. It's not whether situations are going to come that are challenging and hard, but what do you do with the situation? I could have been laying in bed the rest of the afternoon, just writhing with my stomach, like, oh my God. But I knew better things to do. Okay. I could be beating myself up, like, why would you let a child, a 12-year-old, choose what restaurant they wanted to do? Because I wanted him to make that choice and find out that it wasn't that good. Even he said it wasn't that very good. Even his burger was not that good. But our time together was. So, how do you get the goodness out of a situation, the lesson? And how do you take care of the aftermath, the grief, the upset, the being down on yourself, like that you did that thing? And what I'd like to say is it's really simple and it's really challenging. But look at you and say, what do I get to change in my perception here? Okay. Not that grief isn't a really important part of a healing process, but what do you get to inside of that grief, inside of that upset? Learn. What do you get to go, okay, this is part of this whole journey is for me to learn what to do and what not to do. The yamas and the niyamas of life, right? So, how do we detox ourselves from things that have really come and been hard and challenging in our lives? And sometimes it can take you a minute, sometimes it can take you an hour, sometimes it can take you a lifetime, right? There's not a time frame because the universe doesn't work in the same time frames that we do. We want things to be immediate, now, fixed, taken care of. And the universe just wants us to learn so that we can evolve, so that we can feel more connected. So the thing I want to say to you is, what do you do when something makes you feel disconnected? Whether it's eating bad food or whether it's, having something really challenging happen in your life that knocks you completely off your base and you feel like, oh no, because that's what makes us go back into ourselves, feel disconnected, unseen, unloved, unheard. And what I'm going to say to you is getting back to you. You. How do you get back to this beautiful part of you? Not that you push the grief away, not that you say it's not there, but that you also acknowledge you, that you feel and you feed the essence of you. And one thing I love is a very simple meditation, so to say. It's 16 part inhale, 16 part exhale. You close your eyes through your third eye, you look at your palms, and you just little sips. Start out from your pubic bone and just and then exhale the same way. I like to do it to Satanama. Truth is your identity. So I'll say that out loud. You breathe. We'll do this a few rounds together, okay? Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. This way you don't have to count. Just do 4 sets. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. Exhale. Sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. And inhale deeply. And exhale, hands over your heart. Okay, so that was just a few rounds. All right. But I would love you to see if you can do this. Practice it for 7 or 11 minutes and then keep adding a minute a day. See what it does for you. It's so that you can be a giver starting out with you. Be a giver to you. Oh, I hate. Love you.